Hello everyone, it's Kari and today I'm excited to be joining you for Foiling Friday. We're going to talk all things foil and we're focusing on Transfer Gel Duo from Decofoil. This is a really fun, great medium. This duo they added to the end because you can use it not only with heat but also just by adding some pressure, like running it through your die cut machine. So we're going to try it both ways and we're going to talk about some do's and don'ts and how to make things work better. So let's go ahead and get started. I have this beautiful stencil. This is from the Celebrations release. It's called Count the Candles and I'm using layer 1 here. I'm lining it up using the guide marks on this stencil and I'm just going to tape down my cardstock. Today I'm using the thick heavyweight cardstock from Maker Forte. This is going to hold up to that gel really well, and if you ever have trouble with your pieces kind of curling, it might be that you're using too light of a cardstock. So I always start with the thicker cardstock, add the transfer gel, and then take this tool called the Stencil Pal and run it right across to make sure I get a nice smooth layer of that gel. Now you're going to see the difference between some gel layers that are smooth and some that are not smooth and how that affects your foiling in the end. I got a little extra gel right there on the corner. You're going to see that that does transfer when we try to foil this piece, but I'm going to also show you how to fix those when you get some overfoiling or some foil in places you don't want it. So stay tuned for that. Now I've got this stencil. This is the pineapple stencil. And I have done a card foiled with this stencil before using the gold foil from Maker Forte, the Sunrise Lake foil, and it turned out so pretty. Today I'm going to do a different color combination, so we'll see how that turns out. I did the same exact thing, added a bunch of that Deco Foil Gel Duo and used the Stencil Pal to smooth that out. You can see we got a nice smooth result on this one. Just going to remove that tape very carefully and set this aside to dry. Now Decofoil Transfer Gel Duo does need to dry completely before you foil it. It says on the bottle 1 to 2 hours. I put all of my panels aside overnight before I added any foil. Here in Arizona it usually dries pretty quickly, but I wanted to be sure. This next stencil is called Pushing Daisies, and there are some really thin lines on this one. So I turned it to the side so that I would make sure not to move those lines as I was adding the gel. I didn't want to use any pixie spray because sometimes that can leave a sticky residue, and I didn't want any of the foil to stick to that. So generally I do not use pixie spray when I'm planning on foiling. Again, I'm going to use that Stencil Pal and take a look at how good this one turned out. I can't wait to show you the foil on that one. That's coming up soon. Now I'm going to use this butterfly stencil. This is a 3-layer stencil. I decided to just pick 2 of the layers though for the foiling. This is called Kaleidoscope of Butterflies and it is really fun for foiling. So I'm taking layer 1 and I'm going to add the Decofoil Transfer Gel the same exact way. I'm spreading it out. Sometimes I find that if you put a lot at the top and then spread it all the way down, it doesn't reach all of the openings, and so I'll add a little bit more and spread that out until I get a good result. One thing I wanted to mention was always be sure to clean your tools right afterwards and to clean your stencils right away. When this dries, it is much harder to clean off your stencils, so it's best to just wash them off right away. If you get a little bit on the sides, you can go ahead and take your finger and just clean that right off. Now, when I'm doing a lot of stenciling and preparing for foil, sometimes I'll put a container of water right next to my work surface so I can just drop the stencils in and wash them off later. This time I was thinking I might use this stencil again, so I was trying to get some of that transfer gel off the back and it just wasn't working. So I went ahead and washed that stencil. We're going to use it again in just a minute. Look at this one. This one is a beautiful stencil. I think this is Vintage Vines, if I'm remembering correctly. One of my favorites. It's an older stencil, but look at that beautiful design. All right, back to the butterflies. This time I decided to use this first layer to add some ink. And this is another idea for you for foiling. You can always ink and add some foil over the top, or you can add your ink later because foil does resist the ink once it's already been foiled. So for this one, I'm going to do two different panels. The first one I'll do with some blue raspberry ink, and the second one I'm going to take some of the blueberry cheesecake ink and go ahead and ink that on another panel. So we'll have two different panels, and this one I am doing it twice so I can share with you the difference between foiling through a heat source like a laminator or foiling with just using some pressure like running it through your die cut machine. So that's what we're going to do here. I'm just prepping these for the first layer, and then we'll add a second layer of the Decofoil Transfer Gel Duo over the top using this stencil right here. So I'm lining this up. These are pretty easy to line up because there is a guide on these newer stencils that shows you where to line up your A2 size panels to get a good match. So that's what I'm doing here. And these are smaller holes, and so I'm just using my tool here to add that on. Later on, I do regret not using the Stencil Pal, and I'll show you why, but it looks good right now. You're going to see once these panels dry, the Decofoil gel dries clear. That's how you'll know when they're ready to foil. So I'll just go ahead and add that gel also to the blue layer. And now this one's ready to go as well. I'm going to go ahead and clean off that stencil right away and my work surface. But look at that. There was a few areas that got a little bit globby over there. So I'll show you that result. Now, another really cool thing you can do with your Decofoil Transfer Gel Duo is you can stamp with it and then foil with it afterwards. So I'm going to take this one from Flights of Fancy. I'm going to remove that foam pad from my MISTI because this is a cling foam stamp. And so it doesn't need that extra pad there. And this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to line the panel up in my MISTI, and also notice that I'm using a darker panel. It's really fun to foil on darker panels as well, or do some tone-on-tone foiling, and we're going to do that today as well. So today I'm starting out with some of the Welsh Dragon cardstock, one of my favorites, and I'm just going to put some of the Deco foil down on my work surface. I'll move this up in just a minute so you'll be able to see. Just kind of rearranging here. And so here you go. I put that on the MISTI. It's all ready to go. And now I have one of these pads that I use solely just for adding this gel to my stamps. Now I'm just kind of dabbing it on a little bit, just kind of sponging it on, not pressing too hard because I don't want it to go all the way fully into that stamp, just over the top to get a nice impression. And once I get that gel all over the stamp, then I'm going to go ahead and stamp this down onto that panel. I'll stamp that down, and I'm just pressing this with my fingers, and you'll see that we get a very light image of that feather. So let me open this up. The paper is actually going to stick to that. So I'll pull that off gently, and there you go. It's a pretty good impression. It's kind of hard to tell in the video, but it really does look great. Now I'm going to do a couple more of this feather. So I'm just going to move this down and rearrange where I put that feather. I'm going to put it down here. I have to move this over just a touch so that the MISTI door will close. So there we go. Going to add that there. And then you'll see I just need to add it to this section right here because the other sections are going off the paper. So I'm just adding a little bit of that gel just like that. I'll stamp it down, And this one I think you can see better than the first one. See that? Really great impression. Wait till we foil this. So I'm going to change it to the other side, and then let me move that Stencil Pal out of the way. And I'm just going to add it to this portion now this time, stamping that on. Now, I forgot to clean my sponge after I did this, and it's a little bit crusty now. I think it's still usable. 1 or 2 more times I might try to clean that off with water to reuse it, but I just did want to tell you that these stamps need to be cleaned right away. I'm going to take my little Squid Buddy, and I'm going to take this to the sink, add a little bit of soap, scrub it with my Squid Buddy. By the way, mine is called Squeegee. And that worked really well to get it nice and clean. So be sure you clean these right away. Now I'm going to try a whole background of a rubber stamp. This one is called Into the Unknown. And again, I'm just adding that with this sponge dauber here, kind of adding it in a stripe motion instead of just dabbing it on. And this time I'm going to keep that Misty door open, and I'm just going to press it on with my fingers. I'm being very careful not to move the panel because I don't want to get kind of a mirrored effect. I want it to be nice and clean when I foil that. Now here's another idea for you. Did you know that when this dries, it does dry clear and glossy? So if you have a small area you want to just add that over the top without foiling, it will add a glossy look. So that's what we're going to do here. I've got the confetti stencil, and I'm going to go ahead and ink it on using 3 colors. I'm going to start with Yellowstone, and I'm going to make a larger panel of yellow than I originally think, because then I will take the other colors. This is Flamingo, and I'm going to go ahead and blend that right into the yellow. So it's going to create an orange layer for us there too. And then when I add the blue raspberry, I'll blend it into the yellow a little bit there too, and that will give us a green layer as well. I'm taking just a quick shortcut on making a rainbow here. I love these colors, by the way, together especially. You can tell I use the blue raspberry a lot. So there is our sprinkles, and now what I'm going to do is put that stencil right back on. See the different colors we got there? Some orange and some green in the middle there. And what I should have done is kind of wiped away some of that excess ink on the stencil, but I didn't think of it until after it was too late. But I'm going to add the Decofoil Transfer Gel Duo over the top, just kind of squishing it on through the stencil with this palette knife. And you can see that some of the gel now is starting to turn colors because I didn't clean that ink off. So it's kind of a muddy color now here. So I want to not put that back into the jar. I went ahead and just wiped it into a tissue here. And this looks milky white right now, but it will clear. It will dry clear. Here's another idea for you. If you find that large areas of stencils create flat marks or divots in your transfer gel, here's another idea for you. How about using the stencil on stencil technique to make sure that doesn't happen? So I'm going to go ahead and ink first on these clouds, just using some of my blue raspberry again. And then I'm going to add a stencil right over the top. This is the Starry Night. I think it's called Starry Night, if I'm remembering correctly. And I'm going to put this over the top of the clouds, and that's what I'm going to gel through. I'm going to put the gel through. So this is going to create a really neat design in those clouds. You'll still get the idea of the cloud shape because we inked it on. And then we're going to just foil on a portion using another stencil. So this one's right over the top, and I taped that down so I wouldn't get it to move on me. You have to be a little bit careful when you add 2 stencils and you're putting gel through it. The gel does have a tendency to try to go underneath those stencils. So I'm trying to be really, really careful here and just go very, very light. But we're going to get a great result. I went ahead and wiped that off with the Stencil Pal to get the excess gel. And there we go. Look at that neat design. That's going to foil up pretty nice. And I will make a card with this so you can see how it turns out. Another idea is to just use some gel on a portion of your panel. You don't have to ink up the whole thing. You don't have to add foil to the whole back of your card. If you don't want to, you can use pieces, you can use panels. So I'm just lining this up on the side of this purple cardstock. This is Coronation Purple. And so we're going to do some darker foiling on darker cardstock. So you can see you get a different look with this idea. Same thing, that Stencil Pal really helps me out. There we go. So I got a really great result with this. Now it did go underneath one of those dots you can see right in the middle there. But that's going to get covered up with one of our images, so I'm not too worried. Now I did one through the background of the Razor Sharp stencil, and this is on black cardstock because I did want to show you a couple of the options with the darker cardstock as well. This one is the Ginkgo Stencil, and I love this stencil. It is called Gingko. And I wanted to show you that as I was adding the gel through this and using my Stencil Pal, it did create some lines. So see this right here? There are a few lines through those Ginkgos, and that is what happens sometimes when you have a larger opening. I still got a good looking result. This is Hyde Park paper, by the way, and I'm going to do a tone-on-tone idea for you on this one. But see those lines? Just wanted to show you that we're trying to avoid that if we can. Now before you close your jar of gel, be sure you clean off the top and make sure the threads of the jar lid are clean so that you can open it again. Don't ask me how I know. Now here we go. Here these are dry. You can see that it has dried clear. I did wait overnight for these, and what I'm going to start off with is showing you the difference in foiling. I'm going to take the purple foil butterflies and run that through the die cut machine to show you what it looks like without heat, and then I'll take the blue one and we'll run that through my heat applicator, which I have a mini mink that I'm going to be using today. I have this so that I can bring it right into the video so that it's small enough you can see what's happening. That's the whole reason I got this. But if you have a laminator, you can also use that. I know Alex likes to use a laminator. You just need to make sure that you heat up your laminator for a long enough period of time before you start foiling. Now, you guys can chime in right now and let me know how long you found that you need to heat yours up for. I have heard 20 to 30 minutes is the best idea so that you get really great foiling results. I'm going to tell you what I found in my foiling efforts. I love foiling, by the way. I've been doing this for years and years. And here's some of the ways that I have found the best results. So I'll share that all with you today. Now I'm going to be putting this foil away right away because that will save it. It won't, I found if I leave it out, it gets kind of ruined or wrinkled or starts sticking to some of my other panels. So I roll that up and put it away right after I cut whatever I need for my first one. So this one we're going to do through the die cut machine. I'm bringing in my Big Shot. This is the only one I can fit in the video, so that's why we're using this one. And I'm turning this around so I can go ahead and put that through. Here we go. Now I did find that this first time that I ran it through, I wasn't getting very much resistance, so I decided to add a cardstock shim and run that through again, and this time I got a better result with the resistance going through, and that's how I knew it was pressing it down really well, because what you want to do is make sure that foil is adhered to the cardstock or to the Decofoil gel, really. And that Decofoil gel is a little bit tacky so that it's going to hang on to the foil. Now, this is where I ran into some issues. I usually like to kind of go over it with my bone folder just a little to loosen up that foil. This wasn't loosening up at all for me. And I'm going to start pulling this off and you're going to see it is really wanting to hold on. Now, I don't know if it's because I added too much gel and I didn't use my Stencil Pal or if I didn't run it through enough, or if I let it dry too long before running it through. So these are some of the troubleshooting ideas you can try if you run into this. I finally got it to peel away, but you can see that it was a struggle for me this time. But here we go. Finally, it was starting to release, and you can see that some of the gel did kind of squish flatter in areas, which tells me that I either added too much gel or I pressed it a little too hard. There we go. There's our panel. And you can see some of the areas didn't stick all the way. See right there? I didn't get a very good result with this first run through. So if you are using foil without a heat source, then you may have to do a little bit of troubleshooting like I do here. And we're going to try a couple different things. So there's the first one. Now I've turned on my mini ink machine to a 3, and that's the level I find I get the best results. I do have to say I have another machine. It's a little bit larger, and I find that I have to turn that one up to a level 4 when I'm foiling. So it is a little bit different on each machine. So you might have to see which level works best for you. If you have a machine that doesn't have an option to change the heat settings, then you might find that just letting it warm up longer does help, or running it through a couple of times. So I'm going to cut this foil here. Now I did want to mention that I saw someone cutting their foil with a rotary cutter, kind of like the kind you use on fabric, and it seemed really fast and really awesome. And so I ordered one, but it didn't come in time for me to finish this video, so I wasn't able to report to you. But I'm sure in the future, if I'm invited back to do some more foiling videos, I will share a report with you on how that works. Here we go with the blue color now. I've cut a piece just to fit, and now I'm going to take this Easy Foil pre-cut parchment carrier sheet from Maker Forte, and I'm going to cut it down so it fits my panel. So I had the longer, larger sheets. I do like to foil sometimes some larger pieces, but when I'm doing the A2 size card panels, I'll cut it down just so it fits perfectly and it fits in my mini mink. I'm going to go ahead and add an extra piece of cardstock to the back because I do know that with my machine, it likes that extra bit of pressure, a little bit more of a shim. And you can see the light is green now, so it's all ready to foil. And I'm going to go ahead and run that through, just putting that right through. Now sometimes, as I mentioned, I do run it through 2 times if I find that it didn't completely foil or it wasn't coming apart well enough. This time I only ran it through 1 time because I wanted to show you the results. So I'm going to remove that extra piece of cardstock here. Kind of got a little bit stuck there, but there we go. And now this one is ready. I'm going to take my bone folder and loosen it up just a little bit. Now it's not really loosening up once again. Oh, it did on the end there. So you can see that there were some pieces that still wanted to hold on. But look at how much easier this comes apart than doing it without the heat source. You can see I got a little bit where I smudged the Decofoil gel right there. I got a little bit of overfoiling. So I'm going to clean up a few of those spots, just taking a craft knife and cleaning that up a little bit. I decided that I'm not going to worry too much about this because when you get most of it that looks good and just a few spots that don't, that's where you can put some of your elements, your card elements, or you can cut down the panel. There's a lot of different things, and perfection is overrated, right? Okay, confession, I do like to get a perfect foil. I like to get the closest to perfection that I can. So wait till you see some of our other results. This one, I did have a few issues. So there's the differences. I don't know if you can tell, but I prefer foiling with heat as opposed to without. I feel like it's a better result, an easier result. So I'm going to go ahead and try this purple one again, especially on those spots that didn't get foiled very well. What if I take this, line the foil right back up exactly where it was, and run it through the mink? I'll do the exact same thing, put it in that parchment carrier sheet, add an extra cardstock shim to the back, and run it through. I wasn't sure if this was going to work because some of that Decofoil Transfer Gel wasn't there anymore. It pulled off with the foil, so we'll see. Here's our result. Pulling that away, and you can see that it peels off a little bit easier, but there's still some spots that don't want to come apart, just like that. I struggled with this purple one. I don't think I fixed it much more. I might have just squished some of the gel a little more. So I know this is not a great way to start out our foiling video. So let's try the one that had the solid butterflies. And let me show you some really beautiful backgrounds. I'm going to take some of this new Mystic Rainbow foil from Decofoil. It's gorgeous. I love this one. I'm going to go ahead and cut it. Now keep in mind that you want the beautiful side of the foil to be face up and the not so pretty side, in this case it's kind of a silvery, it's still pretty, but it's not the color I want to show. That side goes face down onto the Decofoil gel. So what's going to happen is the gel is going to hold onto it and leave the pretty parts behind face up. So I hope that made sense. We'll go through it some more. We'll do it quite a few times tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and add that cardstock shim, put it in my parchment paper, and run it through. And this is real time right here. I will speed some of the future ones up, but I can turn this down if I find that the gel is squishing too much. I can turn it down to the next level, but I'm going to keep this at a 3 for today and show you some better foiling results here. So look at this. I'm going to move that out of the way a little bit, take away that cardstock, and start just loosening this up with my bone folder. And now I'll peel that away. Let me take off that cardstock. There we go. Now look at this. Oh my goodness. That's what I'm talking about. Much better. Now I did get a little bit of a squish over here on the right side, but don't worry because we're going to cut this panel down and you're not even going to notice that at all. And I want to mention to keep your foiling extras. So this piece right here, we're going to show you how to use all the extra pieces of your foil in a future video. Tonight we're just focusing on the Decofoil Gel Duo, but I am saving all those panels because those can be used in a variety of ways. Now here's the piece that took the whole panel. And I thought Hearts of Love or Hearts of the Ocean would be beautiful on this daisy. And I think I'm going to do Hearts of Love for this one, and let's do Hearts of the Ocean on our next panel. So I'm going to go ahead and remove that. And a little tip when you're opening your foil and removing it from these packages, hold the package open so that the sticky edge of the package doesn't stick to your foil. I don't know if you saw that when I removed it, but I was holding the sticky side way far away from the foil. And then I'm going to cut off a piece and add that. I'm trying to keep it as straight as possible so we don't get wrinkles. And I'll add that to the carrier sheet and put that into the mink with the folded side going in first. And here we go. Now this one I completely fell in love with. Take a look at these results. Oh my goodness. Had a little bit of sticking in the center there, but not too bad. This one turned out probably the best. It's practically perfect. And look at that design on the Hearts of Love foil. I'm going to save this piece here for later. I love how that one turned out. Now here's the blue one. See how I open it? I'm holding that sticky side away from the foil as I pull the foil out. I don't know if I showed you that very well, but just so you know, I found that to be the easiest way. Now I had a panel that was already cut. It almost fits. I'm going to go ahead and use it. I may have to cut this panel down just a tiny bit, but I'm going to go ahead and put that on. You can see there's a little bit of white showing on the edges. That's okay. I'll run it through, and this was another one that is a stunner. Look at this. Okay, I have a few spots that were a little bit sticky, but not too bad. This one was also practically perfect. Gorgeous design, gorgeous foil. There is one spot right up here where I had a little overfoiling, so I'm going to take my craft knife. I don't know if you can even see it in the video. It's super small. It's right here. Take my craft knife and just scratch it away, and you won't even be able to tell. Can't even see it anymore. So look at that. This one was also practically perfect. Gorgeous. I love that Hearts of the Ocean foil too. See the design you get in there? Really great. Okay, for my black one, did you know they make black Deco foil? I thought I would do a tone on tone, but this one here is called pewter, and I couldn't resist it. I thought I have to use that pewter. It was like it was calling to me. So instead of using the black, we're going to go with the pewter on this one. And same thing, on such a dark cardstock, it's really great to do a dark on dark, but this one is really going to shine. So again, I'm going to just cut enough. I place the Deco Foil Gel side down onto the back of the foil. Then I cut that, and now it's ready to put into the parchment carrier sheet with a cardstock shim. There we go. And just placing it through just like so. Now look at the results of this one. It's almost like, I mean, it's a mirror perfect finish here. Again, I'll loosen that a little bit with my bone folder. This is probably just a habit of mine. I really like to see the gel or the foil loosen. Look at this. Perfect results. You can see a little bit of bumpiness in the foil on this one. I must not have used that Stencil Pal exactly perfect, but if you're not looking closely, you can't even tell. Now here's the one we did a partial panel foil. I'm going to go ahead and use a tone on tone on this one. You could use a black, that would be striking as well. But let's go ahead and use this one. This is actually the Watercolor Amethyst foil, or Amethyst watercolor, I should say. It's really pretty, has kind of a watercolory design on it, and this time I only need to cut enough to cover that partial panel. So I'm going to line that up with the Deco Foil Gel side touching the back side of the foil. That sounds funny, but you know what I mean, right? And then I'll roll the rest of it back up and run that through the ink. There we go. I just wanted to kind of iron out a few of those wrinkles, and this one's ready to go right into the ink as well. I love the watercolor ones. They have a blue one that's kind of a watercolory effect. I didn't have that one today. I also don't have the green one. I think I'm going to have to get those ones because it's a gorgeous effect. Pretty watercolory looking foil. And look at this. I love those dots. By the way, that stencil that I used on this one is called Centering In on Things. You can see the blob that I had, the problem with that dot in the middle there. Barely, but you can still see it right there, and I'm going to cover that up, so no worries. All right, remember the one where we did the ginkgos on the green, and I wanted to do a tone on tone. It would look really pretty with the Gina K Fancy foils with the glittering green. I decided to go with this lily pad green from Decofoil, and it is kind of a tone on tone. They're not exactly the same color, but this one's going to come out sparkly and beautiful. I just love foil. My husband was watching as I was editing this video, and he looked over right as I pulled off this foil, and he goes, "Ooh." But you can see the lines. Remember how I told you about those lines? You can definitely see them in this foil result, which Typically, I don't like to get those lines, but I think it's pretty on these Ginkgos. This is the one we just did, the stencil over the stencil, and I had a small piece of this Moonlit Lake foil from Maker Forte, so I just cut it to fit on each of those clouds. Now we're going to run this through, and this has a really pretty design to it too. I also think when you use foil that has a design, it kind of covers up any mistakes in foiling that you make or any over foiling. So if you are currently having a problem with foil, try using the foil that has the designs and see if you get a better result. This one I did have a little bit of the gel squish out on those clouds. I'm going to clean that up just a little bit with my craft knife. And now for this one, this is the pineapple one. And I found that I had some of this rainbow foil left, but not enough to completely cover the panel. So I had just a little bit of this rainbow one. Also, this is the shattered rainbow, I think it's called. So I'm going to cut just that strip there. Sometimes I have random shapes. I keep all my foil because you never know when you're going to be able to use it. So this one I'm going to end up using just a panel of the pineapple and cut off the side that's just the pink. So it's going to work out just fine. I didn't have time to finish this card in the end. I made quite a few cards for you just to show you the results, but this one I didn't have time to finish, but look at how pretty this one turns out. This one was also practical. Look at that. See how I got that foil to loosen up? This is the part I love. I love to see that. You can see that it totally loosened right up. Look at that. Rainbow pineapple, so pretty. There we go. And just a few pink ones on the side. I'll trim those down, create a panel for another card with that, and you're ready for the races. Again, I'm saving this foil to use for later. And now we're going to the candles. I had some random little small pieces of this Sunrise Lake foil, and I thought they would be really pretty as the candle flames. So this is another idea for you. Use pieces of foil to create different colors for different parts of your foiling project. These flames are going to be perfect with this Sunrise Lake color. So I'll just cut those up. And now I'm going to add just a portion of some rainbow color to the candles. So this one is going to have some purple and some blue for this one. And notice that my flames foil is still stuck even when I turn it over. That Decofoil gel is a little bit tacky, so it will keep the small pieces on just like that. I kind of like that. Makes it a little easier. So let's go ahead and foil this one through. And here's the reveal. I love how this one turned out. Well, watch this. Peeling that away. See those little flames with the designs in them? Look, I mean, it's like it was made for it. Perfect. And there's that little splotch. Remember I showed you that? But look at that shattered rainbow. So pretty. So sometimes when you get more foil than you want, like this is a pretty big splotch here. It doesn't all the way come clean with a craft knife. If you have that problem, go in with a sand eraser. Just erase that through and you won't even be able to tell. Look at that. You can't even see it anymore. Perfect. So there's our candles. I love how that one turned out. Now remember the ones we stamped with the rubber stamps? Let's go ahead and foil these up now. So for this one here, which is the background, I'm going to use the Summer Rainbow Deco Foil. I'm using lots of colors of foil just so you can get an idea of how many beautiful colors there are. Maker Forte has a lot of these available in their shop, so go ahead and check them out. This is the Summer Rainbow, and it's got those beautiful summery colors. Really pretty. Cut this one down to size. And this is the one where we use the full background panel. And I'll go ahead and run this through. Now, I didn't have very high expectations for this because after all, this is a stamp. When you stamp with the Decofoil gel, just plan on not getting exactly the perfect results as if running it through through a stencil. But take a look at this result. It's practically perfect. There are a few spots you can see that didn't stick, which might be my error. I might not have gotten that Decofoil gel sponged on exactly perfect, but most of it came out practically perfect. It's so pretty. Let's go ahead and do that other one. This is the one with the feathers. Now, I had a hard time choosing colors. What do you vote for? The Moonlit Lake or a tone on tone with that light blue glass slipper foil? Oh, well, if we were live, I would have done what you chose, but I pre-recorded this time, and it is Moonlit Lake that we're going with. I'm so glad, by the way, that I picked this one. Wait till you see this. In real life, I think it looks even better than on the video. It's gorgeous, though. Look how fine those lines came through with all that foil. And this foil has a design in it, so you can't really tell. Like, it looks perfect. There's one spot right there that I got some overfoiling. I'm going to take the sand eraser and just fix that right up. Just a light sanding. But most of this was probably one of my favorite panels. I love how that feather turned out. I want to do all the colors of foil with this feather. Okay, let's take a look at all of our panels that we've made. This is the one where I used it as a glossy finish for those sprinkles. You can see that it dried clear. Can you see the gloss? It's really pretty. It is a great effect. Try this idea. The next one is the one where we stamped the feather. So you can use Decofoil gel as a stamp. There's the background that we did. Here's the one where we did portions of foil for different colors. It's a really fun technique, and we did it also with the pineapples. And then, of course, the one where we did the stencil on stencil. That's for the clouds. And I think that one turned out really fun. Here's the tone on tone with the green on the Hyde Park. Here's our partial foiled panel. So try just partial foiling. And then, of course, all these great panels through the larger panel backgrounds. I love that daisy. And there's that one with the Hearts of the Ocean foil. Here's our butterfly. And then, of course, our layering stencil that we started out with, those panels with or without heat. So we have a lot of panels to work with here. Now, I'm not turning all of these into cards today, but I am going to turn a good portion of them. I think I'm doing about half. Well, maybe I'm making about 6 cards. So let me just show you how some of these came together. I'll put these off to the side and then create those cards for you. Now, when you're foiling and using foil, the foil really is the star of the show almost every time. But for this one, I'm going to use the butterfly background with the large butterfly over the top. This is the die cut from Maker Forte, and I wanted the top layer of the butterfly to be foiled to match the background. So I'm using some blank canvas, and I'm going to go ahead and foil that with the Sunrise Lake foil. So I just cut some blank canvas and I added the foil to the top. I'm going to run that through the ink machine, and here it is, all beautifully foiled. And now I'm going to go ahead and die cut that top layer of this butterfly and add that. This is going to make for a really beautiful card. Now, these are intricate dies, so you might be wondering, how are you going to put all of those together? Oh, I wanted to tell you that I am cutting this panel down. I'm cutting it down to 4 by 5 1/4. And when I'm doing that, I'm pretty much getting rid of all those imperfections that were around the edge. So yeah, so this worked out really, really great for this one. So I also have a piece of purple cardstock to go as a mat. And now I'm going to go ahead and put this together. I'm using the dot sheets. These are adhesive sheets. They have kind of dots adhesive on them. These are available through Maker Forte. I'm using a small little sample right here. I'm just going to put that transfer paper right over the top and then press it down, and it's going to get all those dots adhered to it. This is sticky, you can tell. So I'm going to go ahead and stick that down to the bottom layer. Then I'm going to do that again on the gold layer, but I'm going to try not to get the edges of this one because I want to lift the edges of this butterfly up. So I'm kind of holding on to the edges, and I'm going to go ahead and glue that down to the other layers, and I will pull the edges up. So we're going to get kind of a 3D look on this card with the foiled top and then the foiled background. Lots of beautiful foil on this one. Now all I have to do is put this together. So I'll go ahead and glue the butterflies to the purple cardstock, and then I'll glue that whole panel to our card base. And I've used 110-pound cardstock for the base because this is actually kind of a heavy card with that butterfly die on the top. So you want to make sure you use a nice heavyweight cardstock for this. And then I'll go ahead and just glue that one down. The bottom layer, this back layer, has a lot of space for me to add the glue. And I wanted to do that so that it was stuck really well to the foil. And then of course I'll lift up those edges of the wings. And all we have to do is add a sentiment. This says you can, you will, have faith in yourself. And that came from the same set as the background that we foiled. Such a beautiful sentiment. For the next card, I'm going to use the partial foiled panel, this one here with the purple. I cut this one down so that there was some white showing all the way around, and I've used this beautiful surfboard stamp set. It has different designs that you can choose, along with a sentiment that says you can't stop the waves, but you can learn to surf. So I used some yellow and a little bit of orange on these surfboards, kind of complementary to the purple. I'm going to go ahead and pop up this top surfboard with some foam tape. And there is our second card. So look how pretty that foil is in the background. It's a really beautiful effect. Love it. For the candle one, I'm going to use this stamp set right here. It's called Boxed Sentiments, and I'm going to kind of mimic the colors on these candles. So for the birthday, I'm going to stamp it in blue raspberry to match the bottom part of the candles, and then I'm going to take some blueberry cheesecake to stamp the top part of the happy. So we're going to have a purple and blue sentiment to match our purple and blue candles. Such an easy thing to do. And so I'll just stamp this one out with blueberry cheesecake there. And there is our sentiment. And I'll just cut around this kind of like a bubble cut so that you get that sentiment only. To make this stand out a little bit from the background, I'm going to take that blue raspberry ink with a finger dauber and go around the edges. This will give it more of a shadow look and pop it up from the background. I'll also use some foam tape, and that'll give it some more dimension as well. It's a really simple thing to do to help it to stand out. And there we go. Just going to add some foam tape, and that will finish off this card. So you can see that the foiling makes a card super easy. I did add it to some acid wash cardstock as a matte layer, and then to 110-pound cardstock. So there's card 3. You can see that these cards can come together very quickly after you do all the foiling, so it's really, really fun to put these together. There's our sentiment added with foam tape, and there you go. For this one, it really only needs a sentiment, and that's pretty much it. So this one says, "Feel beautiful because you are." And it's another beautiful sentiment from that background stamp we used. I'm just going to make sure I have this straight on here using my T-square ruler. And then I'll go ahead and add that also to the card base. And there's our next card. Done and done. Look how pretty that foil is. Gorgeous card. Okay, for this next one, I went ahead and die cut this Simple Sayings called Simple Celebrations, and I used the Well Said Simple Sayings die set. This circle cuts it out perfectly. It fits really great. And I went ahead and took that to my die cut machine, cut that out, and we're going to use this for, I wanted to show you, I keep mine on a magnet sheet here so I can see all of the sizes. We're going to foil that one for this sprinkles card, but I needed to let my foil machine heat up. So while that's heating up, I'm going to go ahead and use the High in the Sky stencil to ink on some clouds for this cloud foiled one. And I'm going to do this in a rainbow of colors. Now I keep my brushes in different colors, and I'm not even inking these up. I'm just using whatever ink is left on those brushes. So it was really nice and quick. But if you wanted to know the colors, the first one was Flamingo. The second one is Red Luster. Third one is Yellowstone. This one here is Welsh Dragon. And since I used all 4 sides of that stencil, I'm going to clean that off really quick before adding the rest of the clouds. And then I'm going to go in with Vegas Strip. I believe it's Vegas Strip is what I'm using here. Yeah, for sure. And the nice thing is that the foil resists ink. So if you're inking over that foil, no worries. All you have to do is just wipe it off with a cloth. Any of that excess ink will come right off. And then we're going to go in with a little bit of grape here. This could be blueberry cheesecake also. I tend to use that one a lot as well. And then I'm just going to go back through the colors again, the same colors. So we've got rainbow clouds with foiled clouds over the top. Really kind of fun. And now I'm going to just add one of these cute little characters from Majestically Awkward. This is a llamacorn. Have you ever heard of a llamacorn? It's a llama unicorn, of course. And then I took one of the sentiments from that same set. It says, "You're l'amazing." I'm going to mat that on some gray paper and then pop that up onto the card with some liquid adhesive. You are l'amazing. And then of course I'm going to pop up that little guy with some foam tape so he has some dimension. There is a llamacorn in the sky, you guys. No one ever said that cards had to be realistic. I really like these llamacorns. If you haven't seen that new set, it's so cute. Check it out. So there we go, adding some foam tape. I'm going to put that right on top of the cloud. And there's that card. Now I think we have one card left to go. We'll take a look at that pretty foil. It's really fun. So let's go ahead and we'll foil this one, and you can see some of that writing around the edges is just so fine. So I just need to scrape it a little bit with my fingernails so you can read it. It says let's celebrate. So I just have to scrape that off. It's so small, but there is no toner there, so the foil doesn't really stick. You just have to coax it a little bit. So there we go. This is so cute with that little cake in the middle. I'm just going to add some foam tape to that, pop that up, and we have another birthday card right here with the sprinkles. So here's our cards for today. Really quick and easy. A few of them took a little more time, but the foil really adds something to these cards. So there's a sprinkle. Here's our llamacorn in the sky. We've got this beautiful daisy panel. And then we also have this beautiful birthday card with the candles using various colors of foil. And then here's our butterfly card. I love the 3D look of those wings. So beautiful. And our surfboard card. So I hope this gave you some good ideas today. Ways to use your Decofoil gel. Try these different techniques and look at all these panels I still have left. Some of that first one I think would be really cool, die cut in different shapes like square circles, maybe hexagons, and used on a panel. but we have lots of panels still to turn into cards. It's really fun. I hope you enjoyed this today. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up, and we'll see you at our next Foiling Friday. Bye-bye.